Hello everyone, this is Chris with Sycophab. Today I'm inside our 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. I'm going to talk about this leatherette steering wheel overlay. As you can see in the corners here, that is our factory OEM steering wheel under there. This goes on top of it. One of the benefits to a wrap over a complete replacement is that this is a heated steering wheel. And right now, not a lot of places are doing factory style replacement steering wheels with the heat inside of there. They really don't want to touch that, is what I've been told. So this steering wheel overlay, you can install it yourself. I'll show you kind of some of the details of how that gets done. It's pretty cool. Has that steering wheel locator at the 12 o'clock position like I mentioned earlier. That is available in different colors. The stitching is available in different colors, but we have a Java interior, so I got this Java brown steering wheel wrap. And it has perforated edges. There's a lot of tips to go along with this, and this is the first time that I've done it. I was actually a little apprehensive about doing it. I don't sew that well. I've watched my mom sew, but it comes with some instructions, and then once I got the hang of it, I went ahead and I did all of this top part, and now I just need to finish up the edges. Thank God this steering wheel, you can do it on the vehicle. These trim pieces actually pop out. I was able to pull this forward. You can pull these forward as well, and you can pull that back trim back. But there's going to be a little bit more to the whole installation, and I have some tips coming up. All right, one tip to get us going. This does start out pretty tight. So what I did was I got the bottom over and centered, and then I pretty much held it with my legs and pulled the top over. Otherwise, it's just gonna fall right off. So it comes with two needles. One is really sharp and one is a little bit dull. I've been trying to use the dull one as much as possible, and I've used it pretty much 99.9% of the time. You would only need to use this one to start a thread, to get it inside of a hole maybe. But other than that, you can use this, and there's less chance that you'll poke the leather or get stuck on the leather. This steering wheel cover is supplied with double-sided tape, and in the instructions it says to use that on the inside to keep it not visible. And I believe that's just so that the steering wheel cover doesn't move left or right. I don't find that as an issue. If you follow my instructions and you keep these under a good bit of tension, I don't think the steering wheel cover is going to move unless you are one of those people that really severely wrings your hands. Right, so this was only my own technique. I started actually right here, leaving some string going this way and enough to go just right to there. I should have used a much larger piece of string, but I didn't know how much there was. I think there's a good enough amount that you can make a nice long piece, but it ended right here, so I tied off a knot, and then I'm starting with another knot, and then I'll cut off that end and burn it, singe it so it stops. I can't really see underneath this that well, so I don't think this stitching in here is going to be a sore, is going to be an eyesore or whatnot. So we'll try that out. Now that I've tied that knot, I will resume. You can see the string goes through the eyelet on this, and then you leave a lot of it pushed past the eyelet. So you can see the string hanging right to about there, and then we go in, and then we go into the other side, come back out, and just repeat going all the way down. As you do this, you'll probably start to get faster. Just make sure you don't leave a lot of slack in between the lines, because if you leave a lot of slack up here, you won't be able to tighten it once you realize it. So make sure that you're keeping a little tension on each pull as you go through. I like to hold the excess in one hand and then pull the needle through with the other hand, and then start over again. Just make sure you don't release too much slack, because if you release too much slack in here and you're down here, you'll be able to pull a few threads tight down here, but you won't be able to pull all the slack past about 1 centimeter from where you stopped at. So when you get to the end, you're supposed to go back up 4 or 5 stitches and then just run it through there and basically tie a knot. So I do it once, and then I come back through and do it again. I will use scissors, kind of snip these off close to the ends, and then use a lighter to kind of melt that end so it doesn't fray. Of course, you want to be really careful with that lighter, err on the side of caution, and just apply a little bit of heat until you finally catch it on fire really quick. You're just kind of singeing and melting it. It's not really catching on fire, but you'll see the end melt. These little trim pieces were easy to get off. I started at the bottom, kind of pulled out, and then popped them out. When you get them back in, you'll probably have to push the clips inward a little bit so that it'll pop in. To get behind this, you can kind of pull these out as well, and that's how I did that. You can pull this up right there, and then you can pull the back down, and that's how you get that material inside of there. So it does get ultra tight in here, having the steering wheel already covered from the factory and then adding this cover on top. So I get everything installed to the best of my ability, and then I kind of play with the trim and see how much of this I can cut off without it being visible. And then I pretty much cut this much off of the other side, maybe just a little bit more, but just a little at a time. Try to reinstall it until you get it right. Here on the inner side, I cut just this much off of this part right here to allow this trim piece to slide forward. Remember, make the slightest amounts of adjustments, because once you cut it, you can't go back. According to the instructions, the proper way to start this is to put a little knot in the end and then pull it through. We're gonna pull that through right there, and that's gonna start it, and we'll move on from there. I will use the lighter and make sure that end gets burnt just a little or melted. All right, that was obviously the wrong end. You can see the knot on the back right there. I'll trim it right there with the scissors and then burn that end. All right, I would have had to have like a GoPro on my body to capture this, but I had an area where it got a little bit loose, so I kind of have this little rat's nest here. You can only really see it when you're up on top of it, but I had to use the remaining thread to cross back over it and push it back down because there was a little loop there. Now, you can do that, or you can basically start all over, because if you cut that loop to get it out, you're probably going to sever basically everything you've done in that section. So I chose to wrap over it, kind of cinch down, and then knot everything off in this area. I have the loose string right there. I'll cut that off and then hit it with the lighter. Pretty simple what I'm doing here. I have the thread and needle, and I'm just running it straight across inside of those loops. Coming back to this side and then doing it again. All right, so the cuts and adjustments that I mentioned earlier in the video, I will put a note in there that don't feel bad to just save those to the end, because you never know how everything is going to work out, and if you make the wrong adjustments early and up front, then you won't be able to correct them in the end if any further adjustments need to be made. They do give you this trim tool, and you can use that to push everything kind of into those edges and use those trim pieces to kind of secure and lock everything in there. Overall, I think I'm going to be pleased with this upgrade, and so is my wife. Having that 12 o'clock locator up there just looks premium, kind of gives it that racy feel along with the perforated sides. And in addition to that, I felt like the original steering wheel was a little bit anorexic. I do think the one in the Bronco, the normal Broncos, is anorexic, and the ones in the Bronco Raptors are pretty fat, but this is a happy in-between, and it feels really nice in your hands. So for more videos like this and products like this, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the bell notification icon to be notified when even more videos are made, and visit my website at stickerfab.com.